Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. Welcome, everybody. Today I'm excited to chat with author J.W. Jarvis. His new book is coming out January 21st, 2025. And I'm just going to tell you, if you've got a thriller lover in your life, you may want to pre order this book. If you have a techie lover in your life, you may want to order it. And then if you're a techno thriller lover, yeah, that's a whole new genre, right? You're going to want to order it. So go to authorjwjarvis.com. Artificial Agent is the name of the novel. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about AI, the $6 million man. Come on. It's going to be cool. So welcome, JW. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So Artificial Agent is quite a title. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, he has to come on the show. We've been doing a lot on AI and
Yeah.
technology. There's good, bad, there's ugly, but you kind of like it, don't you? You're up in Northern California, so you understand the whole,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
guys are working hard on it.
Right. And some of my regular job, I'm actually in IT, so we actually do a lot of artificial intelligence as well in our group. So I'm no stranger to it, and I think it's great. I think it has its positives and negatives, but I think mostly positive if you use it the right way. So.
If you, yeah, that's the part. It's like it has to be in medicine. I've seen that, like how it's really evolving for the medicine world and for surgeries and even not even needing to take drugs if you go to a, outpatient kind of surgery, which is pretty
Right.
amazing. So there's
Right.
a lot of cool stuff, but on the flip side, hmm, but I'm fascinated about what you've written because when you look at what's going on right now in Ukraine and Russia, and like pagers blowing up, and they reminded us all, yo, yeah, remember the day of pagers and now how we've
Yep.
advanced. But
Yeah.
how are they doing that? So is that it's kind of connected. I think your book is very timely. I mean, when did you start writing it?
I started writing it, let's see here. I think I started writing it like towards the end of last year. So
Uh-huh.
that was kind of when I started writing it, and I finished it in about 7 months or so, something like that. I was doing some
Mhm,
other writing as well at the same time, but yeah.
mhm,
But yeah, it was I really just wanted to in the book, yes, it does mention the Ukraine, and it kind of ties in a little bit with current events, but it's really about like how do we stop these dictators, right? These dictators that are deciding to just take whatever they want. It seems like such a old hat, like everyone's trying to grab land still, and it's like, why can't we just, stay at a peaceful situation? But it's just bizarre to me. So it's like, someone's got to step in. So it's whether the government or possibly an artificial agent needs to step in and take care of things.
so tell us about your main character, your agent. Tell us, because this is, I mean, it kind of, you kind of think it could happen. I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
saying.
no. So I made this. So my goal with this was to make it as realistic as possible. So for instance, yes, this doesn't exist. This technology doesn't exist today, but it could. And the reason it
Hmm.
could is because with enough money and enough resources and enough time, you could develop this agent, right? That's the way, that was my whole premise, is that you could actually develop. Now, who's got that money and time? Well, one of the persons in the book, the characters, is a billionaire, and he's got the money, right? And as long as he's got the motivation, it's possible. So my character, the name, he's a commander in the
Hmm.
Navy. He's a Navy SEAL. His name's Michael Cooling, Commander Cooling, and he is one of those people. He's just, country first, everything else next, right? So
Hmm.
one of those die-hard patriots, and kind of gets caught up in a precarious situation. His success is sort of comes back at him. He's been very successful, highly awarded SEAL. His success comes back and bites him, and so uh, the some of the people that are helping him get through it recognize, his capabilities and his potential, and so they say, well, why don't we try this new technology on this guy? Like, what's better than a highly capable soldier that has even more capable abilities, right? Due to
Mm-hmm.
like artificial abilities, right? So that's where I was kind of like, let's make him a super soldier in some ways, right? And see if he can be the first to test out this technology. And so that's exactly what happens. Um, but it was born out of that, and kind of like I think our government has a lot of tools, but they don't have a lot of tools in this arena, right? They have tools that are more sort of non um, like human type tools. So drones, right, are big,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to shoot a missile across the earth, that's big, right? But sometimes you need something with a little bit more intelligence, right? You need a human,
Mm-hmm.
or a human that's artificially intelligent as well, to be able to get past some situations.
And tap in, like just kind of in that, yeah, be able to tap in and do something completely unexpected. I think the pagers blowing up, that's something that's kind of like your book. Like
Yeah.
that's parallel in a way. When
Yeah.
that happened, did you kind of go like, whoa,
Yeah,
we're
I was
getting
like,
close?
how did they? So what's interesting about that is,
That's wild. Like,
what's interesting about that pager blow up is that I believe they were trying to they wanted to get them new phones or something like that, and they
mhm.
decided, well, the phones might be risky, right? So they decided to go the pager route. Well, somebody intercepted that pager shipment, right, and set them up for failure. So but maybe they should have just kept the old phones, right? They probably would have
Yeah.
been better off. But yeah, I think it's there's a lot of secret espionage going on, and it's even in our real world, and even in the fiction world, it's even more. And I think that it's hard to address that with just technology. You need some human interaction to address some of that, right? How do you get ahead of those things, right? With better intelligence. And so I think humans are, no matter how technology advanced we get, I think humans are important in the equation, especially when it comes to preventing war, preventing violence, things like that.
Well, that whole thing too, it shows that somebody had some intel somewhere. And with AI, it's gathering information from everywhere. It's a little pig. I mean, it's just eating everything up and spewing out what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So, it may not know quite what to do with that information until the human says, I need this. So, that interception, how did we know they didn't use AI? And if they had, when you think back to everybody carrying on about how Google's listening to us and, um, just cameras everywhere, Lord of the Flies kind of stuff, and what's his not George Orwell stuff, right?
Right.
1984. Everybody's listening to us, and we all go, "Well, who really cares? They're not really sitting there and listening to our conversation." So now with I feel like this is where AI can listen to everybody and sort it out and attack us.
Exactly. So you don't need an
Yeah.
army of listeners. You don't need people to sit
Mm-mm.
there for hours and process information. You can send all this, like, tons and tons of information to AI, and it'll figure out and summarize it for you within minutes. So you can make strategical decisions a lot quicker with AI. So like, if the militaries aren't using it now, they should be, right? Because they can make decisions quicker. And I think as humans, we can make decisions, more informed decisions quicker, right? Hopefully, we don't want the AI to make the decisions for us, but
Mm.
that's the risk there. But
Wow.
but what it can do is help us make better decisions quicker.
Mm. Ooh, it's creepy though. Everybody kind of feels like it's a robot coming after us, which it could. It could
It,
happen too, because they
it,
wanted robots to know what, the temperature of blood is. There was that kind of study going on. So that's kind of weird. It wants AI to start having feelings.
mhm.
Did that
Like
come
like
across any of
look
your
at
yeah.
So look at something. This is something interesting. So, and I actually do a small call out to Elon Musk in the book, but look at the new robots that he's come up with, right? So these robots that walk around, Optimists, I think they're called
Mm,
Optimists. Yeah. So he purposely made them a way so that they're safer. So I don't know if anybody knows this, but he made them shorter than the average human so that they're not so intimidating. He made them lighter so that they're not as, they can't like hurt you if they fall on you. And then he also made them slower. Now, so that they can't, if they do run after you, you can always outrun them. So like some of the things he put in there is key, right? Because yeah, what if these robots decide to eventually, mature and take a mind of their own? They have to be able to be stopped, right? So like that's just something so small and so far, it's
That's
far away,
wild.
but it is wild, right? Because like you got to think about those things.
Well,
So,
you could, it's far away, but then let's go to the $6 million man,
yeah.
because that's something that now listen, I had a crush on Lee Majors when I was a little girl,
Oh, I know. Wasn't he
because
great though?
but
Oh,
he was on the Fall Guy, right? And that's what I
yep.
watched as a
All
little
guy.
girl. I think because they had it, I don't know where we were. I think we were living in Kenya or England at the time, and it was like old reruns. And I was into him because in the Fall Guy, he rode on top of a train. And I think a few years ago, someone showed me something of it. And I went, oh, that was him. Like, what was with me as a kid at that point?
Yeah.
But, as a young girl, I'm like, because we used to jump off roofs and stuff as kids. We were like the tomboy crazies. So I thought he got on a train. That's cool. But now you got into the $6 million man. And I think he did a little bit more than jump on top of a train.
Yes, he did. He did, and it was quite interesting. I mean, I remember like when I was watching it growing up too. I mean, I used to make that noise, that bionic noise on in my throat when I was running in the schoolyard when I was a kid, right? So like, I mean, you're so like tied into it, and I just thought it was fascinating how they made it. I mean, when you watch it back today, because of all the new technology and all the new movies that look so slick, it doesn't look as slick, right? But it back then it was really cool, like how they made it look and made it, and it looked like the best it could be, right, as far as the technology. And so what I wanted to do with the artificial agent was, I wanted to say, okay, well, it's been 50 years since the Bionic Man has, been on the earth, right? So what happened in 50 years? How far have we
It's
come?
nothing.
That's,
Yeah.
but we've come pretty far in 50 years if you think about it. And bionics, even bionics that you can get today have come pretty far in 50 years. So I was like, well, I'm sure we can go a lot farther than where we've been. So that's what the book is about. It's an evolution of bionics. It's evolution, integration of AI into bionics, and it's
Change of
sort of,
military.
yeah,
Change
yeah.
of military. Because even the way we're at war is a different thing now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think back to the history of battle and war, of how we used to all get in a line and march up to each other and bayonet each other and shoot each other right in,
Crazy, right?
like total like cannon fodder, as we got that term, right?
Right.
Just like, oh, we're going to do that. Then we started getting sneaky. Now we get fighter jets. Then we got like the air, we back in the day, we didn't have airplanes fighting. Then we
Mm-hmm.
get fighter jets. And then all of this technological stuff. Now that we're even going to space as part of tourism,
Mm-hmm.
we're at the very beginning of that. Like, dude, Star Trek is starting to look really weird, like
Yeah.
weirdly, like going to be home just now, like all of that. So I mean, just the warfare thing is. I mean, that's why the pager thing. When I heard that, I went, "Oh, we're going a whole different way." But what I do see in war is, I think women and children are getting killed more frequently than we kind of stopped that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
As best as possible, right? But
Right.
it's now starting to become worse. I don't, while we're getting all this advancement, it's getting worse at the
Right.
same time.
There's becoming more collateral damage, and it's not, and I think some of it is purposeful too by some of these evil people. So, I mean, there has to be better ways to do this. I mean, we can't. I think war needs to be fought more um, with negotiation and with maybe even espionage, to be honest with you, than on the ground, because on the ground is just so deadly. Our technology and our bombs are so advanced, they kill too many people so easily, and so God forbid, nuclear. But it's
Oh
like,
God.
yeah, but it's like, they got to fight. I think some of this stuff is, there's not enough. There's that whole thing in the past about, and you hear about it sometimes about spies. They catch spies. But I think spies are important because
Oh yeah.
spies help you cut off things, right? You help you stop things, right? Or prevent things or be prepared for things. So.
No, spies, but that's where AI and spies are going to go. That's going to be I mean, I mean, Russia was
Combination of
always
those
part
would
of,
be great,
whenever
but
we think of spies, Russia comes up in my mind immediately from when I was a
yeah,
kid, right?
yeah,
Russia was like the Russian spy was always the thing, right? And
right, right.
then it's always like the badass female that goes out there and she'll
Mhm.
kill you, like, but that's part of it, right? Even in your book, you have to watch out for everyone because and especially when money comes in, because now we have oligarchs all over the place. We didn't have that 20 years ago, did we? We
Mhm.
were getting there. So I think we've got these weird powers and we've got this exorbitant amount of money running around the country. And I'm not just this country, the world, yet at the same time, intense amounts of poverty.
Right.
And we've got climate change on top of it all.
I know it's a big divide. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, do we look at that in war? Like, hey, maybe we shouldn't go bomb this yet, or like, well, when we'll bomb them because maybe they'll flood at the same time. Like,
Yeah, can you imagine if we just spent all those resources on finding a way to make our planet better? We'd probably be done already. We'd have a better planet. So it's like, we just
we're
spend so much,
human.
waste so many resources on petty land grabs,
Mhm.
petty power trips,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, right?
Well, what's it like writing a thriller? Because I know you've got a background in writing young adult novels, right?
Yeah.
So I think this got a little bit more
Yeah, this is my
spicy.
first venture. Yeah, this is my first venture into thriller. So it's funny because even in my fantasy young adult novellas, I wanted it to be fast paced, right? I don't like a
Mhm.
reader to have to sit there and go, oh gosh, okay, they're explaining, somebody doing something for like 3 pages. I mean, that's not,
Especially when it's technical. You have to,
yeah,
it's got to, you have,
it's
you
gotta,
have to,
it's
yeah,
gotta
I
go.
think that's what the $6, $6 million man kind of thing is like. It's visual. You see, like MacGyver. Come on,
Yeah,
this dude didn't like MacGyver, right? He
right.
blew stuff up, but you didn't have to get too technical. You saw him do two things with the wire and went, dude, I'm going to try that and blow up the refrigerator. But
Yeah.
that's that kind of thing. You needed to have it. You don't get so, there's a balance because if you don't keep it short and fast, it's don't nobody wants to read a textbook,
No, nobody wants to read it. It's not
a
nonfiction,
manual. Yeah.
right? Yeah, and so I think that helped me because I kind of kept those fast paced, the fantasies. But then I really enjoyed speaking to adults because I could kind of be a little freer. Like I
Mhm.
didn't have to be so. You have to be kind of careful the type of things you write about when
Yeah, you
you're.
didn't have to censor as much.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So it was cool. So I was able to be freer and make things a little bit more dicier, as well as some of the, I don't, some of the kills in the book are pretty bad. But it's something that, and you were talking about a badass female. There's a badass female in my book too. So
I know. As I said, I was, oh, was I supposed to censor myself? He's a young adult author. I think they know what it is. I think they have
yeah,
a better language than we do, actually, at this point.
right, right. But this one's interesting, and I really had fun with it. So I'm definitely gonna do another book.
Cool.
There's definitely going to be another mission for Michael Cooling and his and
That's a good name, Michael Cooling.
yeah,
Is he a chill guy? He's a chill
he's
guy.
a
Like
chill
he's
guy. He's an all-American, but he's one of those that I try to make him not be one of those people that has like a big head
Mhm.
because I wanted him to be more sort of grateful and accepting and have some humility, right?
Mhm.
Because I think when you're given that much power as a person, you have to have some humility, otherwise you'll overuse it, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I thought was important is making his character more have humility and get and accept help from others, right? So I think that's important
Mhm.
too. So it's a pretty
Mhm.
cool thing. I mean, I enjoyed it. The characters are fun. And some of the and some of the situations they get into are pretty crazy, but it's great. I mean, that's what's
So,
fiction.
so partway through life, you're like having a nice day, have some meetings, and you go kill someone in your
Yeah,
writing. So it's like,
yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's like and then the other thing is, I don't know if you picked up on in the book, but I'm a big James Bond fan, so
Mhm.
I wanted to have him have that sort of the charisma, a little bit of James Bond, and sort of his techniques a little bit. So I tried to build that in there too, because like I said, he's an agent, right? So he's supposed to have some sort of espionage type capabilities.
Mhm.
So, I try to build that in there too, and there'll be more of that in the future books. But I really like that
Mm.
that character as well. So
I think a music playlist has got to be in the works for this then.
yeah,
I do. I
right.
think so. And then, I mean, James Bond has martinis. I'm thinking something has to happen.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the Michael Cooling's a bourbon guy, so it's probably going to be old fashions.
Oh, that's not bad. We like that. See, but that's that balance, right? That you're
Right,
talking
right.
about. You can have all this high tech stuff going on, but really, an old fashioned just puts it right back in
Puts it
place.
all away, like takes away the worries for the day.
That's perfect. That's perfect. Then I'll have to kill someone the next day. Who cares?
Yeah,
But techno thriller, we didn't even have that when, like, in school or what. I mean, this is a new genre, right? And
yeah,
and it
it's a new
seems like we're
genre.
getting so many now too.
I know, right? Isn't it cool like that you can have that? I mean,
You
there
can
is
create your own if you want.
right,
Like,
right. You can create your own. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of our advances in technology are because of some of our past writers, right? Like they wrote about things and then they're like, oh, we can get to the moon. Like somebody talked about space travel way before we went to the moon, right? So, and then we got to the moon. So there's a lot of things you can, I think, that's what I love about books is it keeps your imagination going
hmm
and research, right? And then it could become a reality, right? All this stuff.
I like this. I like this. So the other thing with your YA novels, I was looking at, seems that you have a penchant for creating heroes and people that serve the
Hmm.
populace, law
Yeah,
enforcement, firefighters, that kind of thing. So you seem to have that in the military, like in this one, right? So
yeah,
special agents and um, so there's an bridging that gap between the uniform and the civilian
right, right.
and having some respect maybe for them. That's kind of a tell the story of what people go through that do serve and but you
Oh,
add your own stuff to it, you know?
right, right. No, I totally admire all those roles. I think they're underpaid and
Yeah.
underappreciated, right?
And
So
under cared for.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do a lot and and I really like that. And it's like, I guess if, sometimes I'm living a little vicariously through them, my characters, because, I've thought about those roles myself.
Hmm
But I had a mind for tech. And so that's kind of where I went with my career. And so I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, that serves me fine. But, if I could have two careers, I'd love to do, the other stuff too. So that's why
Mhm.
I figured, well, I could just write about it instead.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool. But I think then there's so much controversy right now in the news of things that some bad things have happened,
Mhm.
and a lot of good. And I think sometimes it's really great to get into a novel and go into a story. It allows you, like you're saying, to have your own visuals, it's co-creative, and you can
Mhm.
take your time and you can read things a little bit better. It slows you down instead of reading a headline and making a decision and having an
Exactly.
argument with someone. You
Yeah.
know, um, slowing down is a good thing. We need to slow down, kind of ingest, and storytelling is one of the best ways to do it, you know?
Yeah, it's tough because, you try to sometimes relax and you want to watch, maybe just go through your social media and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can't, I don't know what to believe anymore, right? There's so
hmm
much misinformation now in social media. So it's kind of like entertaining, but it's also frustrating because it's like, sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to even like, I'm stopping. I'm not going to look at any more reels or whatever because it's like, it's so much misinformation. Whereas with a book, especially like nonfiction books, you actually learn something and you're, you're absorbing it slowly, like you said. With fiction books, you're creating this reality in your head and it's just more peaceful, right? Than
hmm
looking at something and going, is that true? Oh my gosh, that doesn't, but it turns out it's not true because somebody's just trying to get more likes. So,
Yeah, it's weird. And it's like a population, it like a popularity, not population, like a popularity kind of contest. So it's like
hmm
being in high school again.
hmm
Then we can get to the Lord of the Flies. Like if we're
right,
gonna do that, right?
right,
1984 is where we're at. He was
right.
right, man. This stuff is crazy, crazier than we thought, but it's weird as things start to happen. So I think for adult readers too, we're just like some of us are going, how much are we gonna experience in change in a lifetime now?
Yeah.
That was stuff that was inconceivable really truly happening.
Hmm. No, I know, and it's a wild ride, and I think it's good to have look forward to change and to things improving, and hopefully you know hopefully everybody can kind of understand that a lot of things you see, in social media are you can't take them at face value, right? So, but what you can do is, hopefully spend some time reading and just create that universe in your head, right? And
Mm.
and maybe get some ideas on how you can improve your life just even from reading, right? So, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The reading part is, and for kids now that's cool. But now what would happen if someone said, "Hey, I want to make a movie out of, artificial agent?"
I'd be all for it. I love it. Sign me up. I'll,
He's like, "I want to see the explosions. I want to
yeah, yeah.
see things happen."
Well, I keep thinking about this, and it's kind of funny to me. And yeah, I'd love to see it in a movie format or streaming format. But what's cool about movies and streaming is like you get to see it, and it can be bigger and better, right? Because it's kind of like right in your face, right? But the problem with movies is you can't really understand completely what a character's feeling, right? And you can't understand what they're thinking because there might be a little bit in the movie, right? But you don't really get as much of it. So in some ways, books are better for understanding characters, whereas movies are better for seeing the world, right? That they've created, right? Because it's like you can describe it as much as you can in a book, but when you see it on the big screen, you're like, wow, that's a pretty cool world, right? But you don't really, I don't think you can connect as much with the characters as you can with books, which is
It's
what,
the insider knowledge. You're
yeah,
getting the inside scoop because if a character is
yeah,
telling you what's going on, you're in their head.
you're in their head.
Yeah, there's a author that he's passed away, but his friend published his books for him, and he wrote a series on a taxi cab driver in
Mm,
Denver. And I'll never, and the taxi guy's name was Gary, I think. And I got just and talk. It was all about he was into Gilligan's Island. So like, here we go. Here we go. It's got this is completely, not $6 million man was probably hanging out too. So this
yeah,
was completely not now, but it was all about this guy's adventures being a cab driver. And it's like you're hearing his day-to-day life. You got used to him always making hamburgers. I remember this all vividly and I've read one for
yeah,
10 years, but it was
right.
all about that because you got to know this guy's habits. You got to know who he was. And I think you do with TV and movies and everything, but it's that conversation he's having with himself that I got addicted to was that
Hmm.
internal dialogue that you
Yep,
don't necessarily get with a character. They have to show it and portray it on screen, but a book gives you that internal dialogue that is unfiltered.
right. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah,
Yeah, because
you're
if they
right
did,
about that.
if all they did in the movie was show the internal dialogue, there would never be a change of scene, right? So
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. It's a
you know,
guy walking around talking to himself the
yeah,
whole time, right? You
kind
couldn't
of a
do it,
boring
but
movie. But
you're really right about that. And most people go, "Oh, the book was better." So I always think authors win. Like even if the
well,
movie
others win
bombs.
because they can present more. Like
Hmm.
it's so hard to present so much dialogue and so much action in a 2 to 2.5 hour movie, right? Whereas with a book, I mean, books take hours to read, right? You can explain so much and go so much deeper. So of course the book's gonna always win because it's just got more detail, right? So
Yeah. Wow. Cool.
yeah,
So more coming out after Artificial Agent. Everyone, again, it's January 21st, right? Am I getting it right?
correct.
21st,
Yep.
2025 through Big D Books, Artificial Agent. So don't forget, go to authorjwjarvis.com. But I believe you have more coming. So this is like you're working a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I have my the Phantom Healer is coming out, which is the third and final book in the First Responder trilogy that you mentioned earlier. So look for that early February. But if you are into thrillers and techno thrillers or military action, pick up The Artificial Agent. I hope it won't disappoint.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. You got to come back. Keep us
All right, I'd
posted
love
as you
to,
get more
Lisa.
books
Thank
out.
you.
This is fun. This is fun. Because there is a creepy side to this whole thing because you just know the impossible is possible. It's a
It is.
matter of when
It
and
is.
who
Just
gets
don't
it
know when.
first. And who
Exactly.
gets it first. That's the other thing. Oh
Right.
boy. All right. Thanks so much, JW.
Thank you, Lisa. You take care.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.